When it comes to theological training, I think that there has to be plenty of the old-fashioned book learning where you just master theological texts and master the Scripture. And so I'm actually pretty big on lecture, note-taking, exegesis papers, theological papers, and you know, in other words, I think a certain amount of your education ought to be very classical, and then I think a pretty good amount of your theological education needs to be really, really contextual, life-related. Maybe 3 years at least of being an intern, getting some theological education while you're doing spending 80% of your time in ministry and processing it. Case studies, mentorship. So I just think you need to have both some really, really practical and some really classical components to it. I also think that theological education probably needs to be now less just Western. I think theological education has got to take into consideration the changes that are coming because so much of the Christian world now is not North American and the West. We ought to be reading theological texts from those younger churches. I think that'll be pretty important.